All right, guys, I guess we could start. So welcome everybody. I hope you're still safe, and I guess we could kick this off with a brief introduction. So my name is Audrey Omurugagatera. I'm a student at Riviera High School, currently in senior 6, doing math, physics, and geography. And before I present or share with you guys what I have today, I would like to first off give time to also to our panelists to also introduce themselves. So yeah, Nesh, do you want to go ahead first?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Nej Trésor Ikuzo. I go to Northwestern University in Qatar. Yeah, and I'm so excited for this. Someone else can go after me.
Hi, my name is Misinga Mugabe Benjamin. I'm a graduate from Riviera High School, and yeah, happy to be here with you.
First of all, what does Ben mean graduate? Ben, did you graduate? Second of all, hi, I'm Natasha, and nice to meet you, everybody. And I do not know why our cameras are turned off, but if that's the vibe, I'm going with it too. Thank you for having me.
You could turn it on, it's okay.
Yeah, I can go next. Yeah, my name is Yvonne Gatete. I'm also a student at Cornell University. I'm still a freshman. I'm also excited about being here.
Hi everyone. I'm Mungadi Fiona Brenda. I'm from Gashora Girls Academy. I'll be going to Cornell University and I plan on majoring in government. Yeah, and I'm also excited to be here.
Here, I can go next. Hi, I'm Anna. I live in the United States. I'm from San Diego, California, and I just got admitted to Pepperdine University, which is in Malibu, California. And I'm really excited to be here today and be on the panel.
Hi everyone, I'm Linda and I'm a senior at Gashora Girls Academy and I'm majoring in math, physics, and geography. And I'll be going to Brown University in fall. And I'm really excited to be here too.
Thank you so much. And I guess Rika is not yet here, but she's also a student at Pepperdine University, and she's class of 2022. So okay, now, what is college? So I would like to first off start with a brief definition of what this session is all about. So this is college preparation session, and I would like to first off make us all understand what college is. And in simple words, college is just the next step, like the next level you have to attain after high school. Now, the bigger questions during this session will be when, where, and how, all right? So when it's right after high school, or you can do what most international students do, they take a gap year in order for them to prepare well for the college journey, college application journey, and you could also do that. Now, where statistically we have 25,000 universities in the world, and all you have to do is just choose some of them for you to be able to apply to them. And while choosing, you also choose according to how best they fit you, all right? And then how, it's all about you filling a certain application form that is designed for you guys to be able to be admitted, or the admissions officer to review your application. And you also, you also understand that during your application process, you have to, demonstrate your talents and how well you're versed with that certain college you've chosen. And all this requires excess research, and I repeat, excess research. And you have to, invest so much in knowing more about your colleges, in knowing more about yourself, in order for you guys to find the best fit. All right. So the next thing we're going to look at is what you consider when choosing a fit university. So you might consider very many things, and some of them I've listed them. So you could consider course fees and cost of living, the location, weather and environment, the campus facilities, reputation, and subject offering. So for the cost, you should be able to ask yourself whether the university's cost or other costs, including tuition costs and living costs, will be able to fit your family's capabilities for them to pay for you, or whether the university will be able to fund you enough for you to be able to attend. Some other people also consider the location, the weather and environment of the campus location, so that you'll be able to also fit in. For instance, if it is a place that is too cold, and you face some health issues that come hands in with coldness, then you won't probably choose there. So the other thing that I would like to talk about is about the subject offering. Does the university offer your dream course? All right. So if it does, then what are the facilities that will be helping, that the university has, in order to help you understand better, in order for you to, nurture your career offering. All right. So I would like to invite Nash to help us understand better how to choose your dream course right now. Nash, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. So with the dream course, honestly, there is much that goes into it. But first of all is your career path, what you want to do after you graduate. But it also comes down to like what you like as a person, because it's not always what you study in school that is going to lead you to your career path. There's so many ways you could go about it, not just education, but what you look at is what you're really interested in doing. And in college, there's a whole different approach, because there's so many courses that fulfill a given requirement if you want to study something. I'll give an example of, for example, if you're doing a strategic communication course, you could go the marketing way, or you could just go the PR way. It depends on what you choose. So in college, you have a choice to like follow what you really like studying, not just as how it was in high school for most of us who went to high schools in Rwanda, where you have to just study that. If you chose MPG, you can't see something in economics, So that's pretty much it. You have the freedom to choose how you can get to your career. Yeah.
Thank you so much. My personal view about how you could choose your dream course. Personally, how I did it is that I chose that course that reflects my academic capabilities, and a course in which I'll be able to, have a fruitful life, life with a purpose, meaning that in that domain I'll be able to exercise service for my community. And that's where and that's when I decided to take up civil engineering, as it matches what I needed. So next up, we're going to look at financial aid. So most of you guys might most of you might be familiar. Sorry about that. So most of you guys might be familiar about the word financial aid, scholarship, and that's what we're going to look at in this at this point. So what I want you guys to know is that most universities are need aware. What do I mean by this? They will consider your financial status and your family's capabilities to fund for your education while reviewing your application. But we also have certain universities, 5 in total, that do not consider that, and they are need blind institutions. So meaning that they won't consider your family's status or financial status or their capabilities to pay for your education while reviewing your application, and they will surely meet 100% of your demonstrated need. And they include Massachusetts Institute of Technology, that's MIT, Harvard University, Princeton University, Yale University, and Amherst College. But it doesn't remove the fact that those that are still need aware will sometimes also meet 100% demonstrated need. Such colleges, you might mention Cornell, you might mention Brown, you mention Columbia, and many, many other schools. So I guess you have a better insight on what, financial aid is. And then when it comes to scholarship, that's a whole new case. Scholarship in the US, it means that they've considered your academic rigor or your academic achievements or talents to be able to fund you. So that's what we call merit scholarship. And universities such as Pepperdine do that. And on top of that, they could also meet your demonstrated need as well. So the next thing we're going to look at is the application, is the admissions process. And at this point, I'm going to be answering one of the big questions that we have received, which is what colleges usually look for in applicants, all right? So the admissions officer will look at very many details, all right? They will look at you as a whole, all right? So you want to, they want to know you better on paper. They want to know you through your application. So what you have to do is give them a reason to choose you, give them a reason to like you even before they meet you, all right? And that's where you have to present yourself as a multi-faced person and well-rounded as you can. So this is like a chart that I've prepared for you to show you what are the details that the admissions officer will look at during his review for your application. So we have categorized them in three parts. So the ones that you have control over, the ones that is beyond your student, that is beyond students' control, and then the gray area. So let's start off with the ones that are beyond your control. So you talk about the school's reputation, both your current school and the school that you aspire to be part of. You talk about the guidance recommendation. You talk about your teachers' recommendations. All those you really don't have that much control over that. And then you also talk about the gray area, which is the part where your parents fall in, their financial capabilities for them to fund your education. That's where it falls. And now in this whole session, I wanted us to focus more on what you have control over, all right? So that's your GPA, your standardized tests, your extracurricular activities, your essays, your accomplishments, and that's what we're going to discuss fully. So now, this is like a table of the common admission data set, and it shows what part of your application is very important, considered, and not considered at all. So the rigor of your secondary school record is really important. Class rank is important, but not really important. You talk about your academic GPA, which is really important. You talk about standardized test scores that are important, but at this point, with the COVID disruptions, many test centers have closed down. So I really think that the standardized tests are now considered not that important during the application review. So you could also look at other non-academic things such as interview, extracurricular activities that are really important, and many other factors that we go through that the admissions officer will have to look at. So now let's look at your GPA, all right, or grades, all right? So you want to make sure that from senior 3 to senior 6, or from year 10 to year 13, you're able to demonstrate your academic strength fully, all right? So you're able to know that probably that B in physics, that A in mathematics truly reflect my academic capabilities. And if it doesn't, then I I advise you to, approach your professors, approach your teachers in order to, for you to gain more credits in that particular at that particular time, because these marks are going to contribute a lot when it comes to your application process. All right. So, and then another misconception that I've observed is that many students think that O-level doesn't matter. You leave you leave out the marks of senior 3 thinking that they won't matter at all. But I would like to tell you that when the admissions officer is reviewing your application, those marks will actually matter. You have to present a full report of senior 3 and your results slip as well. So take note of that. Now we could move on to the extracurricular activities. So these are activities that you get involved in outside school, so outside the classroom bounds. So they varied. So they might vary from sports to music to other scholastic activities such as debate, a athlete, all that, STEM club, all that. So if you're able to involve yourself further in such aspects, then that would be really okay. And it does matter really matter during the admissions review, because they will look at you inside classroom and outside classroom. And if you have already observed from the data set that I just presented, this part also matters. And what I want to also highlight here is that you don't have to do every activity just for the sake of filling your activities list on during your application. You just have to do what you really love, and you have to love what you really do. All right. So what do I mean by this? You have to immerse yourself where you're truly passionate about, and you have to immerse yourself in things that you truly love, because that's when you will exercise accomplishments. That's when you also exercise leadership that they really look at during the review of the application. So I guess we're good on that too. Now, the other part that I would like to talk about is the essay part, all right? So the essay part, it is another crucial part of the application process that the admissions officer will look at. Now, a very big misconception that I would like us to erase during this session is that essays are just for US applications. I'd like to inform you that there are very many schools that are outside of the US that will require you to write essays. Schools in Canada, schools in the UK, schools in Qatar, and very many places around the world where you could choose to study from. So you want those essays, 1, to reflect who you are, 2, to reflect what your future ambitions are really all about and why, 3, to reflect your contributions to your community, and lastly, to reflect your story. And when I mean by a story, I mean that every time, I believe that everyone here on this call has exercised growth, or there's that moment in your life that sparked growth. So talk about those moments. Talk about genuinely tell that admissions officer and show your strength of growing. Show your fit in that university by telling them that I know how to grow, and even if I fall, I'll come back. That's when they get impressed. All right. So I would like to also, though cliche to say this, but be yourself when writing these essays, all right? So they are yours, so be you, all right? And so long as, even though you have to be as expressive as possible, we also want you to be impressive as well. So that's why I would like to tell you that to also note the fact that it is really important to seek a lot of help when editing your essays. Ask those students that got in to review your essays. Reach out to them to see whether your essay has the right language, has the right tone, for the admissions officer to actually believe you, for the admissions officer to actually get what you mean. All right. And so the other part of the application process is the test scores. Though at the beginning I talked about the fact that test, these many schools have gone test optional because of the disruptions of the COVID-19, it doesn't remove the fact that they are still important, all right? So they are still important in most cases for international students, because a case in the point is when I am studying in the Rwandan curriculum, then there is also an Indian applicant who is studying in their Indian curriculum. But for them to be able to have, a base to compare us, we have to have done like that one test that they know more about, and that prepares most students for college. And those are the tests such as SATs, such as SCT. You talk about TOEFL, you talk about many others that also test your English proficiency. And you also want to excel in that domain, all right? So at this point, I also received a question telling me to give more information on how to get a better score on the SAT, especially on the evidence-based reading and writing part. And I would like to invite Joel, a classmate who got a 780 out of 800 on this spot, a really good score, and he could give a better insight. So Joel, do you want to go ahead?
Hey guys, I'm not sure if you guys can hear me, so could you indicate if you can hear me well?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great, thank you very much. So basically, in this time, I just wanted to give a bit of an overview of the SAT, right? And also like specifically the reading section, or the evidence-based reading and writing. So the whole point, right? Sorry, let me just share.
Audrey, you'll need to stop sharing so that he can share.
Joe, you can go ahead and share your screen.
All right, can you see my presentation now? Okay, I think you can now. So basically the SAT, right, is a standardized test, and it's one of the tests given that is useful in the college application process, specifically for the US. Different countries use it, but most specifically it's for the US. It's most useful there. And so basically it stands for the Scholastic Admissions Test, and it is run by this institution called College Board. This document is by Prep Scholar. It's an overview of the SAT, so I think it's comprehensive enough. We'll just run through it. So it was, this is just the background and the history, but basically here, why do people take the SAT? Well, the SAT is a standardized test which is meant to show schools how prepared you are for college by measuring key skills, such as reading, such as comprehension, and computational ability through the math section, the clarity of expression, and so many other skills that are necessary during college. So, I'd like to give some context that usually a lot of schools used to require it, but nowadays, due to Corona especially, there's been a high number of schools that are nowadays trying to be test optional. Test optional means that you can submit test scores, and they are reviewed as part of the application process, but they no longer bear such importance because not everyone has to submit them, right? So nowadays, it's not necessarily that important to have SAT done. However, there are very many other reasons why the SAT can be done, and so run by some. Some would be to spread the burden, for example. So as we said, in a lot of places, specifically the US, where the SAT applies, you find that there's the presence of what they call holistic admission. And basically that means that they try to review you as multifaceted as possible, right? So if you're multifaceted, then they try to look at whether, different parts of your college application support each other. So for example, as we've seen, your GPA, if it's a bit low, right, you can compensate by having a higher SAT, and that will give you a better advantage in the overall college application process. So then I believe doing the SAT is important for one, spreading the burden, and also as an international student, right, you might have an advantage because there is a need to verify that you can speak English for sorry, yeah, okay, it's gone. So there is a need for you to verify whether you do have some English proficiency level. So in that case, the SAT can be advantageous because it includes some English section. And so a lot of schools waive your need to demonstrate English proficiency, or they are more accepting of you not providing any additional, English tests, such as the TOEFL, such as the Duolingo, such as other, tests that you'd usually do to ensure that you demonstrate English proficiency. So when you do the SAT, you're able to actually demonstrate that when you have a certain benchmark on the SAT evidence-based reading and writing section. So also, if you can see what the SAT covers, well, basically there's 5 main parts, right? There's 4 sections on the SAT, and there's also an additional essay, right? There's the SAT and the option of doing the SAT with essay, right? Now, the main SAT is done using these 4 sections. So you have basically a reading section, right? So it's basically divided into 2 things. There's English and there's math, right? Now the English is also subdivided into these 2 things. There's reading and there's writing, right? The reading section is a section composed of 52 questions, and there's 65 minutes for the total reading section. So therefore, you can see that the time per section is roughly 75 seconds. It's quite, you have to be quite fast. And basically the reading section, I do not have a sample here, it would take me a while to do it, but basically how it is formatted is usually has 5 passages. Basically in each, you keep, you read the passage and it's accompanied by like basically 11 or 12 questions about that passage you just read. So that's the entirety of the reading section, right? And so you're basically answering questions about what are the themes you see in the passage, what is meant by specific lines in the passage, etc. And then there's writing and language, which basically tests how well you're, so reading tests mainly comprehension and understanding of passages, whereas writing usually tests your grasp on the English language, whether you know how to place punctuations and whether you know how to do all these different things, basically it tests your English language grammar, and it's sometimes referred to as the grammar section. Test your grammar overall, right? So the writing section is composed of 44 questions, and they're done in 35 minutes. So you have a roughly 48 seconds per question. Then the math section is also subdivided into 2. There's one math no calculator, which is basically composed of 20 questions to be done in 25 minutes. And there's math with a calculator of 38 questions and 65 minutes. Basically, I believe I do not have like really much time to go into like looking at the SAT in general. Just want to give you an overall idea of what the SAT is like. And the first thing that I'd encourage right now is if you're really interested in going to a college, especially in the US, you should consider the SAT. And At the end of this session, we'll have a package delivered by one of our hosts, and it will include different materials, of how to get an idea of the SAT and different resources to help you gain to increase your score and all that. But one thing that's usually recommended when you've decided that, hey, I want to do the SAT, it's better to do a practice test, and there's an easy way. You just do it online on Khan Academy. It's a website. Not sure if I need to type it in the chat box, but basically Khan Academy helps you get a practice test, and you can do it. It's 3 hours, the whole test. So you sit down for 3 hours, you do the test, and you find your benchmark, you find your the level you're at the moment, and therefore you plan accordingly later. You look, hey, do I need to now increase, what do I need to increase on, what do I need to work on, and all that, right? Now there was that question of the reading section in particular, because you see, as international students, you find that math is math on Rwanda, it's math in the US, it's math on Mars. So you do not need to specifically change a lot of that. But the English section in the SAT is quite particular. So it usually takes a lot of time for international students to adjust to it. I'd suggest that number one is to do as many practice tests as possible, right? So there's very many practice tests available online that are free. There's very many books that you can purchase that have very many additional tests and full practice tests. There's so you do as many practice tests and questions as possible, right? There's many resources that we'll attach to this after. So after you do as many tests, you develop your own method. So as you run on the internet and you find millions and millions of tips on how to do this question SAT and how to do this. It's a multi-million-dollar, industry, college admission as a whole. So you'll find so much advice. Therefore, it's better to just you look at the tips and you try to narrow down to what applies to me. How do I see this method working? If they give you a tip, for example, that you should skim the passages, you should not read the whole passage. You just read a few parts, rush through, right? You work through that and you see, let me apply that to the test I'm doing. And slowly by slowly, you apply that and you progress. You'll find the tricks that do work for you and the ones that do not work for you. So it's not like there's a catch-all method to approach SAT as. It's a bunch of tips you look for which best work for you. And yeah, I think that is all that I have. Basically, I really think that right now the SAT is not necessarily as important as it used to be, but it's definitely something that can be a tool you can wield to help boost your credentials and your to boost yourself as a potential applicant to these different universities. Thank you very much for your time. If you got any questions, you can reach out to me or ask in the Q&A session later.
Thank you so much, Joel. So now we could. I hope you can all see my screen. Yeah, so that was the test score part, and I thank Joel for explicitly explaining that. And now we can move on to the next part, the interview part. All right, so various colleges will reach out to you during your application process, probably after you applying, and offering you the an opportunity to meet one of the alumni to share more about yourself that will help the admissions officers to know more about you. And basically how the interview goes, the interviewer will ask you various questions, and in most cases these questions that they ask are really simple questions that need you to be genuine and For instance, on my Princeton interview, one of the questions were, what are your favorite classes? And some other video responses that I had to give out asked me what my family responsibilities are. So technically, the whole application process requires you to be genuine and simple, but at the same time being impressive to these colleges. And now I'd like to also emphasize on the fact that if you have a chance of having an interview, if the university gives you a chance of meeting one of the alumni, in most cases it's not required, but it's really considered, so you should give it a shot and don't pass that opportunity. So now, before I move on to other parts such as the recommendation and college preparatory programs, I'd like to tell you that the parts that we've just discussed, the test score, GPA, SS, and all, they are parts that are really under your control, and you want to, work hard as much as you can in order for you to be, to balance all of them. So as Joel said, if your GPA is bad, then you can compensate that with test scores, you can compensate that with expressive and impressive essays. So I would like to encourage you all that the application process is really inclusive as long as you know how to balance all the aspects of the application process. Now, let's look at the recommendation. Though it's out of your control, you kind of have a small portion of control over it because you're the one that chooses your recommenders. So you want to choose that person who really knows you most and who knows you for the good things, obviously, who will be able to speak on your behalf to the admissions officer in a truthful and nice way so that he can also help you pave your way through that dream college of yours. So the other part is the college preparatory program. So currently we have various programs that will be able to prepare you for the college application process. For the juniors, these programs introduce you to what will be your requirements during the college application process. And for the seniors, these programs are the ones that walk you through step by step during your college application process. So I gave some examples. So we have Bridge to Rwanda and US Studies Scholars Program for seniors, and then we have the YAS and Isomo Academy for juniors. So don't be afraid, just apply to these programs because they are really helpful and they will help you, walk through that whole process, smoothly and safely. So now you've finished your application and you're waiting, all right? So the decision day has come and you're opening your admissions decision. You'll either get accepted, waitlisted, or rejected, unfortunately. So when you get accepted, that's a good thing, great, welcome to college. But at the same time, there is a possibility that you'll get waitlisted and rejected. So when you get waitlisted, there is still hope. You have to, update them on your application and give them a reason to still reconsider you, because a waitlist is like giving you a second chance to impress them. Give them what you didn't give them at first in order for you to reach the acceptance level, all right? So what you will have to do here is to write to them a letter of continued interest, which is technically a letter you write to, your admissions officer to that particular school, telling them what you've been up to, what are your accomplishments, and what are those activities you've immersed yourself in that have helped you exercise growth and leadership throughout that period of waiting for your decision. And then you also tell them why you again. So in your application process, you might have exercised mostly, you might have, exhausted like the why are you applying to that university. But in this case, you have to tell them now why do they have to consider for that free spot that might be there when one of their acceptance students chooses to enroll in another school. So you have to give them all those reasons and wait hopefully that you will also get accepted. So the last thing is a rejection. All right, so this is like definitely a no. And you know, receiving it is still okay. So you have to just move on, try other schools. So you might have been rejected from certain schools, but you got accepted from the others. So, you know, research more about those that you got accepted into, learn to love them and their programs. So seek all the opportunities that you've got from their acceptance. And if not, and you got rejected from every school, so all you have to do is just discover yourself more, exercise growth, and look for better strategies for you to have a better and stronger application next time. So that's all I had for you guys today. And I'm really thankful for you guys to have listened to me. And now we could directly jump into the question and answer session, which will be led by the panel of today. They have a bunch of questions that you've been asking through your registration throughout the registration period, and we've noted them down as promised, and we're going to answer them during the session. And if you have more questions, feel free, drop them in the chat, and yeah, let's go on. Thank you so much. So I welcome the panel to, you know, deliver us some of the answers of the questions that were daunting to most of our participants today.
Audrey, I think we need you to tell us like what order to follow so we know who says what. I mean, who speaks first and stuff. Do we follow the list you gave us or do we just jump right in?
You could just jump right in because the questions were all random. So you could, if you want, you could start. Go ahead, Natasha.
Can everybody hear me? Do I have to switch on my camera? But I think you guys can hear me still, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so I have two questions. One that asks about how to get ready for college and the other one that talks about scholarships. Now, I think Audrey has touched base on most of the college preparation steps. And so I'm just going to, like add a little bit of things that I think she missed out, but she got most of everything right. So when she talks about extracurricular activities, some people think it's a matter of, you know, either A, doing a lot of them, or two, just doing one well. And doing one well does not mean attending like maybe club meetings every Friday, every Saturday, and not actually do something, right? Because the people who are going to recommend you and you can't just write an activity, right? So sometimes they ask you for a description of the things that you've learned from your activities, right? So like I know Harvard and Stanford have a supplement essay that asks you to specify like something you learned, right? And you're not going to have learned something if you attended every class meeting, every club meeting, but you are at the back of the meeting and not doing anything, not participating and not going out of your way to actually learn and develop whatever, I don't know, thing you're trying to learn in the club, right? So even if you are to do an extracurricular activity, dwell into it deep enough, but also learn enough and, you know, show yourself that you're doing it and keep working on it. Another thing you can do to get ready for college is getting to know who are going to be your recommenders before you get to actually apply, right? So sometimes it's better to, like, at least in S5s, you start to strategize and say, hey, I think I'm really good at English and I might have to follow a literature program at college. And I think I have a good relationship with my English teacher. Can I ask her for a recommendation letter? And once you figure that out, it helps you, you know, at least, you know, create a bond with her or him so that they can get to know you well enough to write a solid recommendation letter, because some universities are able to tell when the letters are genuine or they're just being like people following protocol, right? So it's better to figure out who you want to recommend you before, you know, those deadlines, because then they're going to write you a bad recommendation letter. Another thing you can look at is grades. They are academic institutions at the end of the day, and they will look at your grades. And it's not that they're going to always look at straight A's. I'm not saying that if you don't have straight A's or straight B's, you're going to get rejected. They also like seeing a growing curve. So if you started off poorly, you have room for improvement, and they like seeing a scale that goes up. Say you started off with C's, and then in your S5 you got B's, and then in your S6 you're trying to get A's, and like, you know, improve your growth. So they like to see that. It's never too late. Just don't start like packing all your eggs in like your final term in S6, because that's gonna mess your application up. So if you started off poorly, it's not the end of the world. You still have room for improvement, and you have supplemental things, materials that you can add to your application to still be a strong applicant. And also, people think that they have to write their essays. Like I know a person reached out to me to help me edit their essays, and they started working on the essay the week of college deadlines, and they wanted to do ED1, and it was like a month to November 1st. And this person wanted to finish their essay in a week because they thought it was possible, because some people will tell you that. They'll think that you could just write an essay and then you're done in a week. And yet essays need a lot of work. I think that's actually the most draining part of the application process. I had like 8 different essays and they all just didn't work, and I would start a new one and I would feel very frustrated, right? And so it's good to start brainstorming essay ideas and start soul searching and figure out what you want to talk about. It doesn't have to be the perfect essay in your S5, but at least you have like a solid idea of what you want to talk about, and then you start developing that from a earlier time. So by the time like your essays are due, at least you have less work to do. Another thing you could do is again start doing research on colleges earlier, so that you start narrowing down your path. Because then people, when it gets to time to apply, they get super frustrated because there's so many universities and they don't know where they want to apply to. You want to narrow down your research by like, considering maybe the location. I, for one, have always wanted to be in California. And so it wasn't hard for me to narrow down my search. And then I was left with schools in like the consortium, like the Pomonas and Claremont. And then I figured I wanted to do things related with government and policy and economics, and Claremont McKenna College had one of the best programs in the world. And so I had to narrow down my research from the country, the location, to the major, to the vibe. It's like 30 minutes away from Los Angeles. I've always wanted to visit Los Angeles, and like they had the huge party scene, and all those were things I was looking for into a college. And so it all helped me narrow down my research. By the time I was set to apply, I knew where I wanted to go, and I applied wholeheartedly. And that was one of the factors that helped me get in, is that it was very specific to my interests, and universities can match the fit. And also, this is very dumb, but I think it's very important that you have a support system that believes in you. When I was applying, I was doing my applications with Winnie and Fiona, and none of us ever discouraged each other, Like if your friend would come to you and tell you, hey, I'm applying to Cornell, like the first thing you're going to tell them is, who do you think you are? You think everybody just goes to Cornell. But then we didn't do that. It was like, Winnie, you want to do Brown, I think you can get in, you apply. And then we're helping each other with our essays, and Fiona and all of us just work together. And I think having that kind of support system that believes in you, and you know that your dreams are possible, just like made the whole application process even better for us, because we were supporting each other and everybody believed in everybody, and no one felt discouraged at any point. The second question, which is the last question that I was supposed to answer, is one that concerns scholarships, right? We're international students, right? We're low-income students from Africa, and whichever way you spin it, I don't care what your dad does here or your mom does in this country. If you put it on a scale of, institutions, higher academic institutions, we're poor. We are absolutely very poor, and we can't afford $78,000 every year. We're definitely very poor. And so that's why we go into college looking into scholarships and financial aid. Now, most colleges have need-aware financial aid applications, and that means that your financial situation could affect your college decision. But the good thing is that for most of them, they will give you need-based aid. They will evaluate your financial situation, and they will at least try to meet it, or put it like slightly above, but they will try to meet it. But that is if you're doing like top schools with a lot of money. And so we're talking the Harvards or big broad colleges like Pomona, like Amherst, like CMC. Those are the colleges that are going to give you money and pay for your tuition. Now, if you're doing other schools, like other state schools, their funding is less because they are public schools. If you're doing private schools, you have more chances of getting scholarships and better financial aid. If you're doing public schools in the United States, the aid becomes significantly less. Now, some of the options you could explore to still get your education paid for is the MasterCard scholarship. Now, the MasterCard is usually used for kids from low-income families, and so they will only consider your application for the MasterCard if you know the payment is going to impose a very huge burden on your family's financial situation. And so you could always apply for the MasterCard. I know Jean-Michel, the director of iDebate, when he was applying to college, he went to Pepperdine, and the costs were high. And so what he ended up doing was he created a GoFundMe page, and people actually contributed, and he went to college. So all this to say that if you want the dream big enough, you're going to go for it. You could go start a GoFundMe, or apply to schools with merit scholarships. And merit scholarships are scholarships that award your performance. So it could either be an academic merit-based scholarship that is awarding your academic eligibility, or your sports, your athleticism, anything. You could apply to schools that have merit scholarships. I, for one, got a merit scholarship for my achievements. So, you apply and you hope you either get a merit-based scholarship, a need-based aid, or you apply to these scholarship foundations. And also, when it comes to the United States, the scholarship options are very limited. And then we have to start thinking about the very many scholarship opportunities that are available in Rwanda and in Africa. I know ALU, for one, offers a lot of scholarships, UGHE and UR, and many people close them off because they think they want to go live the American dream, but you do not know where your path is going to be. Your path could literally be in this country, and you end up going to those big schools for your grad school, but do not shut off every college opportunity because you don't have a scholarship here. There's very many, good opportunities here. Like the minister of ICT went to UR and ended up going to MIT for her grad school, and she still came back and became a minister. So if the US is not for you, don't feel discouraged that you didn't get in. Just start looking at other opportunities that are around you, because they're also equally as good and more affordable for your families. I think that's about it, unless anybody else has a very specific question to me. Those were the two questions I was assigned, and if anybody else has questions about my application or any other help, they can definitely reach out to me after. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Natasha. That was helpful. So yeah, let me welcome others as well.
Yeah, I actually received a couple questions privately to me in the chat, so I just wanted to address them and answer them in more detail. One of my questions was, is it possible that I can start applying for college before finishing grade 12? Yes, it is possible, but you also have to take into consideration the graduation requirements for your school, as well as the requirements for the college that you're applying for. If you look at some of the colleges that you're looking to apply to, a lot of them somewhere on their admissions page have different high school requirements that they require you to have, or at least I know for US applicants they do. I don't know if they probably have different requirements depending on where you're applying from, but I know some schools, they require 4 years of a language-based class, or 2 years of a science, stuff like that. And so if you meet all of those criteria in order to graduate early and be able to apply to that college, then yes, you can start applying before grade 12. You just need to make sure that those requirements are in line before you do. And then the other question that I got was, somebody was asking me what my experience was with the college admissions process. So it's definitely different for everybody. A lot of people, when you're taking a college prep course or something, they're like, this is how the college admissions process goes. It can be that way. They like to have a general idea, but the truth is it's very different for everybody. For me, I only applied to 4 or 5 colleges. Most people apply somewhere between 10 to 15 colleges, but I only wanted to apply to 4 or 5, mainly because it was cheaper, since it usually costs money to apply to most schools, but also because there were only a few colleges that I was really set on going to. And so those were the only ones I wanted to apply to. The main thing that I was looking for in a college is, I'm a Christian. And so I really wanted to go to a college that had a very good Christian environment, but also a very rigorous academic curriculum, like a school that also had a really good academic reputation and I know would be a very valuable degree. And so that's why I ultimately ended up applying to Pepperdine, was because it fit both of those criteria, as well as the fact that it's in Malibu, which is one of the prettiest places in the world. And just everything about the social life there is also great. And so that's how I ended up choosing that. They also had a course that I really wanted to pursue, which was international business. And so it just seemed like the perfect fit. And so that's how I ended up doing that. I actually ended up only getting into that school, so it ended up being perfect. But yeah, that was my personal journey. And then, yeah, those were the only ones I had to answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. That was really helpful. So now we could, I could invite another one.
Hi, everyone. My name is Linda. I guess, yeah, I talked about myself earlier. So I'll be talking about how to write an effective essay, basically the all college application essays. And so the first thing is you have to start early. I guess Natasha talked a little bit about this too. And yeah, you really have to start early because these are not essays which are just going to present for English class or any other thing. These are essays that are really going to affect the next, where we're going to go for the next 4 years. And so I really think starting early can be a very effective approach to this process. And another thing I think is very important is to understand the prompt. I guess this applies to basically any essay, but when it comes to college application essays, it is really important because this once you did not answer the question as it was asked, the college admission officers are probably going to think you're not going to comprehend the questions or anything in college. So I really think it's really important to understand the prompt. And the second thing I think is important is yeah, so you've understood that and we all know that the college application essays are like one of the hardest parts of this whole process. So starting early can really remove a big burden when it comes to this whole process. So another thing I think is really important is to start with a compelling introduction. We've been told this, I mean, ever since we started writing essays. You have to start with a catchy introduction, and I think this is really important because once an admissions officer says that your essay is really, yeah, it starts with a really good introduction, they're definitely going to be interested in your essay, and they're going to move on with the flow. So I think a very compelling introduction is a really important point. And because these officers are reviewing thousands and millions of applications. So once you start with a really good introduction, it's definitely going to catch their attention, and they're going to spend time on your essay, which is a really good thing. Another thing is to use your inner voice and avoid cliches. So yeah, I guess you all know this. Yeah, you have to be very authentic and vulnerable because they do not want to see you as a robot who's only getting perfect score in the SAT, who's getting straight A's and they have a perfect GPA. They want to see you as a person. So you need to use your inner voice and be very authentic and vulnerable, but not too vulnerable again. And they want you to base your essay on genuine beliefs, not made up stuff. So they want to see you as a person, and you really have to be real when it comes to these essays. Another thing is you have to stick with a clear essay plan. So one of my friends, Natasha, she's the one who tells me that you always have to have an outline for every essay that you're doing, be it in English class or general paper, whatever it is. You really have to have an outline for every essay that you're doing. So a college essay is not different, be it a supplement or an additional information essay or your main personal essay. They all have to have an outline that is clear to help you go about your whole essay. So yeah, another thing that Natasha also talked about is to ask someone to proofread your stuff. So my friends and I remember me and Natasha and Fiona and a bunch of other friends of mine, we always used to share each other's essays and make sure that we help each other edit because yeah, we want to see each other, I mean, get to the universities we've always wanted to go to. So and we know how much the essay part is really important. So that is why we spend time editing each other's essays, even at school. After getting in, we made sure that we're helping our friends. So whenever someone proofreads your stuff, there are a lot of times that you never see your mistakes, but when someone else does it for you, they're definitely gonna see it. So I feel like it's also a very vital point. Yeah. So the last thing that I'm going to talk about is do not be afraid to use humor, because the college admission officers, these are people, they're definitely, and this is a good thing actually. If you put in some humor, they're going to see that yeah, you're a person. You're really they're really going to see that you're a person, and it's really good to make them laugh at some point. I feel like if you guys have seen Natasha's essay, you guys could really understand this point. So do not be afraid to use humor. It is also another great point. Yeah, and you have to be creative. Um, this is I bet all of you know this. You all have to be creative when it comes to these essays because they do not want to see. So we all know in most cases when we're all applying to college, we're reviewing all these essays that got people into Harvard, into MIT, and so what we do wrong. So what people do wrong is sometimes they get some points from those essays and they become exactly, so it's more like plagiarism, but then they make it their story, but then there's still you can see that there's some points that have been gotten from the other person's story, and this is not being creative. It's definitely going to just because this story got another person into, I don't know, MIT, is definitely not gonna get you in another school. And once these schools detect plagiarism, I don't know if you're even gonna get into college. So yeah, I think Natasha and Audrey talked a lot about the essays, and that was what I wanted to talk about. So yeah, thank you. I'm really open to any questions. You could DM me anytime.
Yeah, thank you so much, Linda, for that. Brenda, do you want to go ahead next?
Hi, everyone. I'm going to be talking about if the SAT is necessary and if they removed it, should we still take it? Yeah, or we should just focus on other parts of the application, like our grades and activities. First of all, I feel like you should shoot your shot. Like Audrey said, you should first do a practice test and then see if you're good at the SAT. And if you're not, then I would recommend you guys to work on other parts of the application, like your grades, your activities, make sure your recommendations are great and stuff like that. But still shooting your shot because when you get a very good SAT score, it obviously sets you above average. It gives you an advantage over the rest that did not submit. That is if it's good. But if it's not good, it could still harm your application. And when you submit it and it's not good. So you just have to try it and see if it's gonna work out for you. The other question is about financial aid. I think Audrey and Natasha talked a lot about it, but I'll just talk about the conditions for the financial aid. And no, not everyone gets full financial aid or full scholarship. It depends on first, if the school is need aware or need blind. Like Audrey said a lot about this, but yeah, if the school is need blind, then they will look at your financial. They shall not put your financial status in while they're reviewing your application. But if it is, then they'll see if you can manage to pay for your education. Yeah, they'll see if you can afford. Again, another condition is citizenship, which does not apply to us. Another condition is the grades. If you have very good grades, then you are most likely to get a merit scholarship. Yeah, and you can apply for other scholarships using your grades. And also, yeah, the financial status of your family. Like Natasha said, most of the families in Africa, Rwanda particularly, are not that rich. So yeah, you should put that, you should have these conversations with your parents and ask them what they can afford for your college. Again, another condition is being enrolled in an eligible program. Some programs have like are fully funded and the rest are not. So when you're applying for look at the conditions and see if you are eligible for the scholarship or the financial aid. Um, yeah. Again, reminder, it wouldn't hurt to do the SAT. Just try it. Yeah. That is no. There are other English proficiency tests like Duolingo, which is much easier than the SAT. You just have to do it so they can see if you are very good at your English, and yeah, and you can send it in instead of doing an interview to waive your English proficiency test, or just doing the SAT and then you do it badly, and then yeah, just do the Duolingo test. Yeah, I guess that's all.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brenda. And now let me invite Yvonne before Ben could, also share something. So Yvonne, do go ahead. It's okay.
Yeah, so thank you. So I think that I've said almost everything about the application process, but according to the first question that you gave is best resources, I think Joel said almost everything that I would have said. And the only thing that I would add is just resources for prepping in terms of materials. There are some prep books that you can use in order to improve your scores. If you need those prep books, or if you need the names of those prep books, you can just email me. And also the other suggestion is you can also look through the prep schools that are there in Rwanda. I know that there are some prep programs that are there, but you have to also know the credibility of people who use those prep programs and ask students who came from those prep programs how the experience was. The other thing is to use online materials. Like Joel was using articles from Prep Scholar. Prep Scholar is a really good online material for people who wants to improve their scores. It's kind of expensive, but yeah, if you can afford it, you can just go for it in order to boost your SAT scores. Um, yeah. So if you also want to do some other standardized tests like TOEFL and Duolingo, you can also, I didn't do TOEFL Duolingo, but I know some people who did TOEFL and Duolingo and who got great scores. So you can also email me. I can just give you contact of those people. The other thing is what? How to improve my essay. I think Natasha said everything about the essays. Like that was the perfect introduction to the application essay. But yeah, you just have to like look for people who you know that got into like schools so that they can help you with your application essays. So I would also like to talk about recommendation letters. So it depends on the school actually. Like for instance, my school didn't even have like someone who is entitled the school counselor. So I just had to look for someone who is in the administration to help me with the common up by being my school counselor. So it depends on the school. If you're in the same school like me, you can just try to reach out to people who you know that are in the administration office. Try to reach out to teachers, and at some point, some teachers just tells you to just write the whole thing on your own and give them the whole thing so that they can submit it for you, which is the better option. Um, Okay, about financial aid, you asked me about athlete financial aid, athlete scholarships. I'm not sure because I don't actually know anyone who got it, but I think I've heard that some people just film their themselves. Like for instance, basketball players film themselves doing some skills, and they reach out to admission officers. They use their coach as their recommender. But for me, I don't really know someone who got the scholarship or athlete, but I can just try to look into it if you need more information about that. The other question is about how to choose your courses. I think also Natasha talked about this. You have to like know what you want to do for your future. Like if you want to do government, then go for it. Look for like schools that have good government programs. If you want to do CS, look for schools that have good CS programs. And at the end of the day, you can also be undecided and just continue to explore and see your potentials and what you want to do. About rating college parties. Because of COVID, I haven't yet been to any party here, but I know that, for instance, Cornell has this Greek life stuff, and people go there and they become crazy. And yeah, you can enjoy yourself, but at the end of the day, remember that like you have to also focus on your studies. Don't let your parties get into the way of your success here in college. Yeah, but I would say if you like to party, you are going to find people who also like it, and you're going to enjoy your college life. So I think that is all. Okay, I have something to do. I'm going to just leave the session. But if you need me, you can email me. My email is Wangatit. I'm going to put it in the chat, and you can just email me. And yeah, good luck on your application process. Thank you.
Yes, so thank you so much, Yvonne. Ben, you could go ahead now.
Thank you. I hope you guys could hear me. I'm going to talk about, they asked the question about how to apply, then they talked about how long does it take to get admitted, and then the last question I'm going to answer is what high school GPA do I need to get accepted into college, and does year 12 and year 13 account for college? So first of all, with the question about how to apply, I'm guessing at this stage, you have decided on what to do and what you're going to do, and the deadlines and all that, and the essays and all that. And one thing I have to note before that is recommendations. In my experience, I didn't ask for recommendations early enough, which made me lose out in some opportunities that I could have had. So you need to do that beforehand. So how to apply? There's different ways. You can use the Coalition app, the Common app, which are the two main, I can say, those are the two main ones they use. But there's also, for different states, there's different apps or application websites. There's some for Texas, there's different ones for, I've applied to Minnesota, there's for different, universities and colleges. So yeah, you need to put that. And for some, low ranking colleges and universities, you can also apply to, they have options of applying through their websites. They have their own application websites. So yeah, that's how you could apply. And then to answer the second question, how long does it take to get admitted? It depends again on the school. For community colleges, sometimes it can take, hours or even days. So, but as for like Ivy Leagues, they have days that they put out all their decisions, the Browns, the what, they have days that they put out the decisions. And this time, I think it was April 6th or something. And yeah, some of us got our rejections that day. And then what high school GPA do I need to get accepted into college? Again, it depends on what school you want to get into. Community colleges typically don't even have, the GPA that they ask for, and even some, universities and other colleges. But I'm going to say, as for Ivy Leagues, it depends. Sometimes, you can even get rejected when you're an A-star student, and you can get accepted when you're a C, a C or B student, So sometimes it's just about if they want, your extracurriculars, or if they like the way you presented your essay. So it depends. But I'll typically tell you to, work towards, better grades. And yeah. And the last question was, is year 12 and year 13 equivalent to college? I think this was asked the wrong way. I think what they meant was, is it equivalent to A levels? And yeah, it is, but you do need year 10 and year 11 to year 10, year 11, year 12, and year 13. They typically ask for four classes, if I could put it that way. So they typically ask for 4 classes, and yeah, that's what you need to, for your transcripts to get into college. I think that's all I had, and yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ben. That was really helpful. And now I'm going to welcome our last panelist of the day, and that's Nesh. Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, hi everyone. Am I audible? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So some of the questions I was asked, the first one is, can students with grade D or C get admitted in colleges and universities? Yes and no. I'll put it this way. So the universities look at your application as a whole. So if your grades are not as good, but show, as Natasha said, a graph of improvement, a growing graph, then you are promising those colleges that you worked hard to get there. They look at how you got to that grade. So if for example, I got a C and at first I was an F student, I am promising enough to like bring more to that college, and also my application has more than just the grades. So they'll look at everything in my application, not just grades in particular. The next question was, is it possible to change my major when I reach the college? So for some colleges, you just get to declare your major in your second year, even if you declared your major in, like when you're applying, they ask you what major you want to study, but some colleges don't strictly hold you to that. You can always decide on another one after your first year. However, some other colleges need you to fill out some forms and if it's a bigger college, let's say, for example, you want to move from this major to another one, and the first one was probably in liberal arts, and you want to go to engineering, there's some requirements that you'll have to fulfill in order to transfer from one major to another, but it's a possibility. The last question was about the visa. So when you get admitted to college, it was a different case for me. I'm in Qatar, so I didn't have to do much. The school went into the process, and it so happens that even if the school doesn't help you through the process, they always guide you through what you need to do. So you need to follow up on their emails and everything, and get to ask the admissions officers if you need help with that. Also, I would ask Yvon probably, because I think he went through that process, so he can give a more concise answer. If he's still here, he can give a more concise answer as to what the visa process for people who are going in the US go through.
I think it just went off because he had a class, I guess. But what I learned from a session with Pepperdine University is that for us international students, when we are done with the enrollment process, you get the school emails you like this form called the I-20 form, which will guide you and provide a proof to the immigration officer that you really need to be in that school, and it will really help a lot. And I guess that's what happens for the all US kids when the international US kids, because they will have to first off enroll and then get that I-20 form for their visa. I guess that's all you have to do. Yeah. So Nesh, if that's all you had for us, I guess.
Yeah, that was all.
Okay, so thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I first off I also thank the panelists. I thank Nej for hosting us, and as Joel said, I will email you a package that has resources, the best resources you could use while approaching your SATs. Also, when you're trying to, craft some great essays, I will also include in ways of applying to different colleges across the world, ways of applying to universities in Canada, the ones to apply, ways of applying to some universities in the US, and yeah, everywhere. So I hope you stay tuned for the next days to come, and you have to also check your emails frequently so that you receive that email safely. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you got a lot of things from this session, and I hope you're going for a great journey. I wish you luck in your application processes. I wish luck to the juniors that are that just heard of this thing and are really excited about their college applications to come in next year. And I also wish the seniors luck as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us, Audrey, and for planning all of this. This was great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.